Baby boomers have faced wars, love, peace, pot, divorce, games, and now, one of the scariest chapters in our lives: retirement, aging, money, Medicare, wrinkles, grandkids, and being grandparents. It's time to talk about our generation. News Talk 660 KSKY presents My Generation with Suzy Black.
Good morning. I am Suzy Black. Thank you for tuning into My Generation. We have a great show today. Today is Your Health Has an Impact on Your Wealth Day, and I have invited Dr. Jennifer Ridley to talk to us. She's going to talk to us about a disease that a lot of people may not even know about, but may actually have. Dr. Ridley, thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Suzy.
This is the first time you've been on my show, and
Yes.
so thank you. It is very early.
Yes, it is, and thank you for having
I appreciate that. Okay, this is... And we were talking about this before the show because a lot of people don't take this as serious as I'm seeing that it is. Actually, everyone listening has been impacted in some way by diabetes, and we're not talking about diabetes today. Would you explain what metabolic syndrome is?
Well, metabolic syndrome is actually a group of risk factors that when they occur together dramatically increases your risk of developing diabetes, heart disease, or stroke. Those risk factors are insulin resistance, having extra weight around your middle, also known as central obesity, high blood pressure.
You know what? Let's go back. Let's talk about the weight around your gut or your waist. My husband and I we were shopping the other day, and I was almost in shock about how overweight a lot of Americans are. And, you know, I know that we're an epidemic. I know that we have an epidemic of diabetes, but metabolic syndrome is something that's right before that. And I don't think people are really taking as serious, you know, the fat that we're carrying around on our gut. Could you talk about that?
Right. Well, you know that you have central obesity if your waist is larger than your hips. That's the easiest way to figure it out. So if you were to take a measuring tape and put it around about where your belly button is, where your waist is, if that's larger than the circumference of your hips.
And I know ladies have, everybody listening has measured their waist at some time. So if you take a measuring tape and put it around where your belly button is, and then you take it around where exactly your hip bones, where your hip bones are.
Kind of the widest point of your hips, right where your hip bones are.
And that's central obesity.
If the waist is larger than the hips. That's right.
Now, that's kind of
the apple-shaped form. You hear people talk about apple and pear. Apple is the central obesity.
And what does that mean? Now, let me go back. There's men that are listening right now that actually drink a lot of beer and have that beer gut. Is that central obesity?
It is. It certainly
not
is.
Good.
And that, again, we can't emphasize how important this is enough. That predisposes you to metabolic syndrome, and which makes you at much higher risk for very serious illnesses, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And that's why this is so important.
Well, and I think that I don't think people realize how deadly those diseases are. And I am a retirement planning counselor, so a lot of my clients are 50 and over. So I'm seeing people that actually have diabetes. They're losing their legs, they're losing their sight, they're losing I had a gentleman that his kidneys weren't functioning and his body just started swelling. It wasn't releasing the fluids in the hospital for months.
Yes.
And it's based on what food?
Largely it's eating too much sugar and carbohydrates to the point that your body becomes resistant to even being able to absorb it. That's called insulin resistance. So you keep overeating these foods. It's a lot like maybe listening to loud music. Your hearing starts to get deadened to the sound. Your cells start to get deadened to insulin and sugar, so they just go up and up and up in your system. And that's a big deal because it's very inflammatory. It starts to affect the small vessels, which is why you see it in the feet and the eyes first. So once that inflammation starts taking place, you can lose sight, lose your feet, lose anything where you're losing circulation in that area.
So if your doctor has not diagnosed you with diabetes, but you can do the central obesity test, then you know that you're heading down that track.
You're heading down that track, and you need to start getting some testing to see how far along that track you are.
What kind of testing?
I would start out with just simple things like getting your blood pressure checked. You're starting to go towards metabolic syndrome if you're anywhere around 140 over 90, even 135 over 85. That's tending in the wrong direction.
Okay, so say that again. If you're 140 over 90, or
or even 135 over 85. They're starting to lower that number and putting you into a higher risk category earlier and earlier. Get your blood sugar checked, both fasting and a 2-hour glucose and insulin.
How do you do that?
You have to go to a physician and get a lab test ordered for this. So you would then go to a lab. They would take a fasting sugar and a fasting insulin, meaning you haven't eaten for about 12 hours. Then they would feed you some glucose. Then they're going to test your sugar and your insulin again in 2 hours.
And you might be wondering, well, Suzy, you're a charter retirement planning counselor. Why on earth are you talking about metabolic syndrome? The reason that this to me is so important is because when you go to retire, the cost of maintaining a diabetic diseased body is very expensive. I mean, you've got supplies, you've got prescriptions that you have to maintain. You've got to watch your diet, which is even harder when you're older than it is when you're younger. And the cost of diabetes to this country is devastating. We're concerned right now with the political arena and everything that's going on with that. But what we're looking at is, statistically, and you may not know this number, but statistically, what would you say people under age 50 have it, and people that, or do you know when that more people get it?
As high as 1 in 4 people in America right now have metabolic syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
1 in 4. And that's all age categories, but over the age of 40, it dramatically increases.
Okay, so when do you cross the line? So if somebody has metabolic syndrome, okay, and I want you to remember this. If you can take a measuring tape and the circumference around your belly button is bigger than your hips, then you're if you don't have diabetes, you're really heading towards it.
That's exactly right. High blood pressure, another risk factor. Having abnormal cholesterol, another risk factor that puts you into metabolic syndrome.
Now that you're here, I hear a lot of people say, well, 200 is not good, but I've had other more holistic doctors say that, that some higher levels of cholesterol are actually healthy because of all the things that cholesterol, because it helps, I guess. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm just throwing that stuff I've heard.
You're exactly correct. And I'm in that category where I don't think just because your total cholesterol is elevated, it's necessarily bad. You really have to look at the components of cholesterol. Because what research is showing is it's really only the very tiny particles, the very low density lipoproteins that are dangerous. And the triglycerides, which is basically the fat in your bloodstream, also very dangerous. And that's what sugar becomes. Excess sugar turns to fat in your bloodstream and then gets packed on in your organs and around your middle.
Well, and I always say once on your lips, forever on your hips.
That's right. There you go.
So basically what we're looking at now, okay, let's go back to cholesterol.
Okay.
What would you say is someone that's inching towards metabolic syndrome? What's the number?
I hesitate to give an exact number because really it's just more that your HDL, which is traditionally known as the good cholesterol, is below 40.
Okay, so your HDL, your good cholesterol, is below 40.
Right. And elevated triglycerides of any number that is a problem when we're talking about triglycerides. So I like my patients around 75, but definitely less than 100, less than 130 is acceptable.
Okay, so what Dr. Ridley's saying right now is that if your HDL is below 40, not good, and if your elevated triglycerides are over what?
Well, for my patients, I tell them try to keep it under 75.
So try to keep it under 75.
Right.
And during the next part of the show, we're going to talk about how to do stuff like that. Another issue that I see is energy. It seems like people that tend to eat the high carbs, eat the the bad diets, tend to have slower energy, and that impacts quality of life.
It does. High sugar ages you just really, really fast because it is creating inflammation throughout your body and it accelerates aging like nothing else.
Okay, when you say inflammation, because we hear it's actually become almost a numbing word, because we hear it all the time. What actually does inflammation do inside the body?
Probably the best analogy would be like rusting. It's oxidizing your body, which is akin to watching something rust on the outside. So that's what's happening.
And so is that where the buildup in the arteries and all that other stuff happens?
Well, once it creates inflammation inside your vessels, it starts to change the way they function and makes them sticky on the inside so that then plaquing starts to happen. And that's what sets up coronary artery disease and heart disease.
And okay, so I think a lot of it has to do with food. I'm not a specialist in this area. What other impacts, what other issues are causing this?
Sedentary lifestyle would be probably the next biggest thing. People not exercising and spending their day sitting all the time. Exercise is very, very key to reversing this process. And anything is better than nothing. Although my goal for my patients is about 60 minutes a day, that's really what your body is striving for. But if you're sitting on the couch today, 5 minutes is better than sitting. 10 minutes is better than
Well,
doing
and I
nothing.
have to tell you, you may not have known this. I used to weigh 230 pounds. I've lost over 100 pounds. And what I did is I would take I thought, okay, 15 minutes, if I could just walk 15 minutes. And what I did is I took my cell phone, and I've had cell phones for years, took my cell phone and timed it. And so I thought, okay, I can walk 7 minutes. And then I know I got to turn around and walk back. And so I would walk for 7 minutes. And then when I'd hear the alarm on it, I would turn around and I would end up with my 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So just like you're saying, just do anything. Now, what about, okay, and let's go to, well, we're going to take a break. They're telling me I got to take a break right now. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about how to fix this problem, how to prevent it. Dr. Ridley's information is on my website. If you have any questions or comments for me during the week, my number is 817-540-1022. My web address is investwithsuzy, SUZY.com. For Dr. Ridley's information, her web address, if you want to see what she looks like, click on, go to Invest with Suzy, click on My Generation. Do not touch that dial. We've got great information. We'll be right back.
You're listening to News Talk 660, KSKY.
That much anticipated retirement can actually turn into a very boring, endless vacation, and everyone knows how boring vacations are if we don't have enough money to spend. Hi, I'm Suzy Black, Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor and host of My Generation. Albert Einstein says that compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world, but only 1 or 2% isn't even keeping up with inflation. I recommend safe and conservative investments with at least a 3 to 4.5% compounding interest rate. To determine if this is the right investment option for you, please call my office at 817-540-1022 or email me at sblack@investwithsuzy.com. Again, my office number is 817-540-1022 or email me at sblack@investwithsuzy.com. We'll be glad to help.
Suzy Black will return with more of My Generation in just a moment. In the meantime, you can reach Suzy right now at 866-660-KSKY. More Suzy Black coming up on News Talk 660 KSKY.
Feel the love in every bite. Janie's Cakes.
Looking for the perfect Valentine's gift or just a special anytime gift of appreciation? You have to send one of Janie's Cakes. Made from scratch with the freshest ingredients, Janie's Cakes are perfect pound cakes delivered straight from their kitchen in Tyler, Texas to your door. Enjoy a variety of flavors created from their all-natural organic ingredients, such as the Plain Jane, their Italian cream cake, or their Saucy Jane, perfect for chocolate pound cake lovers. The Little Bakery with Yellow Stripes has been delivering great tasting pound cakes to Texas and across the country for years. Surprise someone special with a Janie's Cake. Spectacularly packaged in blue and yellow stripes, or keep one for yourself. Order online at janiescakes.com. That's janiescakes.com.
Feel the love in every bite. Janie's Cakes.
What should we expect when the Supreme Court takes up Obamacare? Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt. The High Court's ruling will make history and shake up the political landscape. And the February edition of Town Hall magazine walks you through the possible outcomes. There's also the shocking story of Fast and Furious as told by an ATF whistleblower, plus an eye-opening report on the slanted views of MSNBC. Log on to townhallmagazine.com to get intelligent, fresh reporting that you need more than ever in this election year. And a very special offer if you subscribe today. That's townhallmagazine.com.
If you're serious about your New Year's resolution to drop those stubborn 10 to 50 pounds, here's how. Great Shape Today has a new approach to easy weight loss. A science board featuring a Nobel Prize-winning doctor helped create these amazing weight loss shakes that are now the best-selling meal replacement shakes in the world. We'll send you a 2-week risk-free trial. Pay just $5 for shipping. Visit GreatShapeToday.com. GreatShapeToday.com. GreatShapeToday.com.
Follow News Talk 660 KSKY on Facebook and Twitter. Details at KSKY.com or search News Talk 660 KSKY.
Welcome back to My Generation with Suzy Black. 866-660-KSKY is the number to call with your questions and comments. Now, here's your host, Suzy Black.
Welcome back. You are listening to My Generation. If you're just now tuning in, you've missed a really good first half of the show. We are talking with Dr. Jennifer Ridley, and we're talking about metabolic syndrome. And she was saying that if you have the apple-shaped body or you have more of a central gut, then you're actually steps towards diabetes. Okay, so Dr. Ridley, let's go ahead and turn it around. Let's say that you've got somebody that they're not sure if they're trending towards it. What's the first thing they can do?
Knowledge is power. Get to a medical professional and have them test you. That's most important. Then, if you find out that you are at risk, or even if you've just now figured out that your waist is larger than your hips, already you know you need to start making some lifestyle changes. So most importantly, start getting some exercise. Any exercise is better than sitting on the couch. Secondly, start drinking lots of water. Dehydration is massive in this country. And just as a rule of thumb, if you'll drink half your body weight in water, you'll be about where you need to be.
Okay, half your body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you drink, what, 100 pounds of water?
100 ounces. About 100 ounces, not pounds of water. That's exactly right. And if you're a smoker, quit smoking. Smoking makes every single serious condition in your life worse. And start increasing fiber in your diet. Something that simple makes a big difference to how quickly you absorb sugar and how well your intestines work.
Okay, and how do you know what? Open that up. Speak English to us. How do we add more fiber to our diet?
Fruits and vegetables.
And it's, you know what, and it's actually Dr. Kurt Hamilton, he was here when he was talking about the broccolis and stuff. How do you, is raw cooking, steaming, frying, and is raw better or not necessarily?
Well, not necessarily. For most of my patients, if I can just get them to eat vegetables, I call that a win. But if you're particularly tired, fatigued, your body has trouble digesting your food, raw vegetables can be very hard on your system and make you even more tired. So lightly cooking them, not in the microwave, but traditionally steaming or on the stove, microwaving destroys a lot of the nutrients in our fruits and vegetables. So lightly cooking can help people that are having trouble digesting their food.
Well, and one way I add vegetables to my diet, fruits and vegetables, is I have a protein drink. I put strawberries in them. Mm-hmm. I have a low-carb pita sandwich, and I just gob on spinach, raw spinach. Mm-hmm. And so for me to walk around eating a carrot stick, which is starchy for me anyway, I'm not going to eat it anyway, but for me to really eat a lot of vegetables, I don't do. So I kind of trick myself, and I just add them to things that I already enjoy. Like I do not like tomatoes, but I know tomatoes are good for us, so I'll take a real thin slice and put it on my sandwich, mixed with my spinach and some other stuff. So I think maybe mixing that stuff up. But I'm not a big, I can't say that I sit there and just gouge on spinach, because I don't.
Right. I train my patients to do a lot of smoothies for breakfast. That's a good chance to get a lot of extra vegetables, because you can put a handful of cabbage or kale or carrots in a smoothie. No, you don't even taste it. You won't even know they're there.
So if you have a hard time, because I drink a chocolate protein drink, but I put strawberries in it. And I've wondered about some spinach, kale.
Try adding a handful of cabbage first. You won't even know it's there.
Okay, I will take you up on that. And next week I will tell you if you really can or you can't, because drinking vegetables just does not. So, okay, so what are some other steps that that people can take to actually prevent metabolic syndrome?
At this point, all the things that you can do on your own, we've pretty much covered that. You really need to start getting help now to start going deeper. So if you were to come into my office, it's super important to me that I start figuring out root causes of every condition you're complaining of.
Now, what if your parents had diabetes? Is that a big factor for you or no?
Genetics is a very interesting topic that we could probably talk about for hours, but the short answer is, the statistics show if your parents or grandparents have any of these conditions, you are more likely to develop them yourself. But I tell my patients all the time, how you live your life is so much more important than your genetics. So if you got dealt a bad hand, you can still control what shows up in your life by how you're living your life.
Right.
So lifestyle is more important than your genetics. So if you have parents that have all of these conditions, you just have to try harder to live cleaner, exercise, drink more water, don't smoke. It just becomes more important. And then you can still keep these things from showing up in your life.
And I do not have diabetes. I work out 6 days a week. I will not get diabetes. I will fight that my entire life. I have seen people that have diabetes trying to control, their blood sugar levels, trying to control when they can eat, when they can exercise. I mean, all of these awful things. But if you can stop it now, prevent it now, the cost to you as far as money-wise, that's my concern, as far as money-wise is huge, but at the same time, it's quality of life.
Right. Prevention is always way easier than the cure, bottom line, and way less expensive.
Who said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure? Was that Benjamin Franklin also?
I don't know.
My buddy Benjamin. And so, okay, so we're running out of time here. Give us some final steps to help us to prevent metabolic syndrome.
Can't say this enough. Start exercising. Most important thing. If you have any big conditions going on in your life, whether it be bowel syndromes, headaches, arthritis, start figuring out what's truly causing these problems instead of just taking care of symptoms. I can't emphasize that enough. So many people in this country are just medicating away symptoms without figuring out what was causing those symptoms.
The problem
in the first
with
place.
that is they're medicating symptoms because that's what their doctors are doing. Where can they look outside of just going to their primary care doctor to get more holistic, more natural answers?
Well, I practice functional medicine, and doctors that practice functional medicine, they look for root causes. That's their goal. So anybody who comes into my clinic with something as simple as constipation or diarrhea, it's not, can I just make that symptom go away? It's what was causing that constipation and diarrhea. So I might test for food allergies, or I might go, like say, what if you're allergic to broccoli? You may be thinking you're eating healthy, but all of a sudden broccoli has not become a health food for you.
Gosh, there's so many things that we have to deal with.
I know.
So, okay, Dr. Ridley, I'd like for you to give a little bit of your information. Where is your office? What is your phone number? How do people get a hold of you?
My office is called Live Well Chiropractic and Wellness Clinic. I'm at 749 Lonesome Dove in Hearst, and my website is livewelldfw.com. And my clinic number is 817-485-9355.
How long have you been working with clients in our area?
8 years.
8 years. Good for you. Yeah, I've enjoyed talking to you. Now, what about vitamins? What vitamins would you recommend for somebody that may be inching towards metabolic syndrome?
Multivitamin above all else. You got to get a good multivitamin because very few people eat enough fruits and vegetables to really get everything they need, and that'll cover a lot of your bases. Fish oil, a really good quality fish oil, will help control inflammation. Super important.
And won't that help keep your HDL up?
Exactly. It'll help raise your HDL and lower your LDL, which is real important with this particular condition.
Excellent. Dr. Ridley, thank you so much for being with us, and I will exercise even more and eat my broccoli cooked.
An hour a day. Good for you.
Thank you.
Tune in each Saturday morning at 7, right here for My Generation with Suzy Black on News Talk 660 KSKY.
We don't get fooled again. News Talk 660 KSKY. Online at ksky.com.